and two guys that certainly stood out as well as we get into more of our standouts from Fan Day here on Boilers in the Stands were now sophomores, Gicarri Harris and CJ Cox, who, really, made an impact last year. Not easy to make an impact, on a roster, when you jump into a Purdue program that has a loaded roster, when you're rookies that can make an impact, or freshmen, I should say, that make an impact, that kind of shows you what your potential ceiling can be here as the years go on. And Kraig, Gicarri Harris, and CJ Cox, if you're basing it off of what we saw at Fan Day, these two are certainly ready to make a jump.
Yeah, and not just off of Fan Day, but I guess some of the rumors that we've heard out of the scrimmages that Purdue has run that were closed off to media before this, in terms of both of them showing out a little bit as well. Both of those guys, you hope every year you want to see guys make that freshman to sophomore jump. And obviously, these are just scrimmages so far. Can't jump to too many conclusions. But last year there was a couple of freshmen going in their sophomore year that we just all expected that jump was going to come, and it never really materialized. And you hope with these two that is going to translate into play, into real games. But all indications right now, just in terms of the buzz you're hearing out of the scrimmages that are closed off to media, out of what we saw on Saturday, the two leading scorers in that scrimmage were both sophomores coming off of a good freshman year, but not necessarily standout freshman year. Should we expect either of these two to lead the team in scoring very often during the regular season? No, but it's good to know that they have the capability to go out there, knock down shots, be confident from the 3-point line. They seem to everything just seems to be coming easier right now. It doesn't seem like there's any thinking about it. It's more instinctual. It seems like they have more confidence. It seems like they're attacking more. And Gicarri's case, just more willing to pull the trigger on that 3 ball as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're seeing it. You're seeing it with these guys. Obviously, they're locked down. They've been very, very good defenders, and they were having themselves a day on the offensive end, Joe, because it was the shooting performance we saw on Saturday was impressive.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to have to do offensively. Like, there's going to be moments where CJ's gets to create a little bit, but realistically, when you're looking at that starting lineup and whoever you want to put in, CJ, Gicarri, even Westermeyer at that 2 spot, maybe excluding Meyer a little bit from this part specifically, but like, they have to be able to just stand and knock down threes, right? Like, that is, if you do that is perfect offensively. And then just kind of be able to connect the offense, move the ball, get it to where it needs to right here, right? You see that post entry pass and then immediate kick out because TKR is going to just demand double teams. So they're going to be the 5th option most, like, in that starting lineup, which is crazy to say with kind of, I think, the talent we all agree that they have. There's going to be teams that sell out on Braden and TKR and Fletch and try to make guys like Clough and CJ and Gicarri beat them. It's good to see that they have the capability of doing it. I trust Gicarri's shooting. I don't think the end of last season was a hoax by any means. We already know CJ can just light it up at any given moment. So offensively, it's great to see. And then defensively, we know what they're going to do. Like, two of probably the 3 best perimeter defenders on the team. I don't know if we're going to talk about starting 5 and all that again in this show, but like, my answer is I'm good with either. Like, I trust both completely, kind of, to be that starter or finisher type role.
Yeah, and as you said, their defense is what they're known for. You see CJ Cox here, get into a passing lane here on Omer Meyer. And hey, you gotta be careful with those guys because they're always lurking for the basketball. But we understand the kind of shooting prowess that both those players have. We talked about like, hey, you see the jumps that some of these sophomores have made in the past, whether it's Braden and Fletcher or Zach or Jaden Ivey, and the process that these coaches kind of put in place for these players as they come into this program. And they're always told they're not promised anything. And I think the thing that's encouraging is when you see guys, hey, if somebody needs to, feel like they need a change of scenery to have an opportunity to play, we respect that. We're never going to bash anyone. We wish any player that leaves the program that wants to go to another school for an opportunity, all the best. But that being said, the players that do choose to stay in this, knowing the kind of talent that's coming in and year out, knowing that Painter isn't going to promise you anything, knowing that you have to earn this in the summer when nobody's watching, that is what is, when you talk about culture, that's what is, facilitated here. This is how it grows. This is how it's culminated, is these guys embracing that. And so you see that, and CJ Cox, we talked to him after practice, dude is all business. He's not really fazed by it, and talking to him about, the Houston game last year, I thought, and this is possibly something I bring up to Painter. I know he's not a big storyline guy. I'm the vibes guy. I'm the storyline guy. I appreciate the journey when it comes to what teams go through and how they fight through adversity and their experience through the ups and downs. And I think that Houston game was so big for so many reasons, and last year I felt like, the headline of last year was a team trying to learn how to win and find their identity without Zach Edey, which is a huge culture shock when you go 4 years of having that kind of gravitational presence out there. Now, how are you going to win without him? And I thought throughout the season, you saw them figuring those things out. And I thought it really came to a head when they got to the tournament and they played Houston. And that was a national championship level game, in my opinion, ironically enough, potentially, in the same stadium that the national championship will be in this year. So I think there's some symmetry there. And you're talking about two of the best teams in the country, number 1 and number 2 now this year. And so that was huge experience for Braden, Fletcher, and TKR to be in a game like that on the national stage without Zach there anymore. But it was an even bigger game for guys like Gicarri Harris and CJ Cox. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how the experience of all of last year in the tournament transfer over into this season. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to add, but if not, we can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, the only thing I want to ask Joe real quick. Well, first of all, to your point defensively, these two guys alone had 8 steals on Saturday. Now, yeah. That's an eye-popping figure, okay? But we knew, like, both of those guys last year were really good on ball. The question was screen navigation primarily and rotation and stuff like that. As you watched Saturday, Joe, did anything jump out in terms of difference in the way they managed to get through screens and work through that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely some improvements. I think even throughout last season, you could see them becoming better and better. Like, they're both very capable, I think, in that area. They're going to be jamming full court most times, and just kind of they're going to be the ones that has to work through screens. I think it'll be a little bit interesting to see kind of how they merge with Clough, where if Clough is in that high hedge consistently, it is a little bit different how you kind of have to navigate through things just slightly. So getting some of that synergy together between all of them, it will be something I monitor. But yeah, like at this point, especially on ball, they're going to do their job and they're going to do it pretty well.